If you are looking to get into intermittent fasting, longer term fasting, this episode is for you. We're going to break down what is it, how you should do it, because most people do it wrong. So Jeff, let's start with what is intermittent fasting for someone that doesn't?
So intermittent fasting, it could be multiple things, but it's time restricted eating. Mm-hmm. So, whether you restrict your food all day and eat one meal a day, they call that OMAD, one meal a day. Yep. Whether you decide to fast for, 16 hours and you have an 8-hour eating window, which I like, or an 18-6 or a 24, yep. It's like you can do it multiple ways. I think just, once again, we live in a world of information overload. And I think just as things keep coming out and diet plans come out, it's like keto went to dirty keto and mm-hmm. carnivore went to, modified carnivore. And then you have, intermittent fasting. Now it's like just whatever fits their schedule, which is fine to a certain extent. But right. I feel like the common way when intermittent fasting came to the market, I think a lot of people said that fits what I'm already doing. And then all of a sudden they did it. And once again, you put yourself on a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight, right? It's biology. It's how our systems work.
Right.
But eventually it sets them up for failure, especially the people that really don't have discipline to actually adhere to a proper plan.
I think that's because obviously any diet you do takes discipline and you got to be rigid and structured. But I think intermittent fasting specifically, at least in my opinion, is the most of the discipline you have to do. Yep. Because not only do you have a busy schedule, you got to work all day, you got to do X, Y, and Z, take care of the kids, whatever you have to do throughout your day. Now you also just shrunk your eating window into, say, if the most common is probably 16-8, so say 8 hours from 12 to 8. And it's like, so within 8 hours, not only do you have to eat all your meals for the day, but it has to be the right meals and the right nutrition and the right nutrients and the right food all within your window, which I would say if you're going to do 12-8, most people that starts while you're during your workday.
Yeah.
So now you have to pre-plan in advance. You have to know what time you're eating and what you're going to eat at what time. And it's a lot. It's a lot to do it the right way. And I think where a lot of people go wrong is okay, I have 8 hours to eat today, so I'm not going to eat till 12, but from 12 to 8, I'm going to eat as much as I can to fill it up. And then I'm going to stop eating at 8. But it's like you lose sight of the fact that it's calorie deficit, calorie surplus. Yeah. Like that is what it comes back to. So if you eat 4,000 calories from 12 to 8, you're not really, right. You're not helping yourself at all here. You're just eating a lot in a shorter period of time.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, I think the number one reason, just because I've been in the weight loss space 2 decades, right? A long time. And I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I feel like intermittent fasting really appealed to the people that were trying to lose weight because most people, and just my experience, and you're talking hundreds of thousands of people, right?
Yeah.
So I've heard it. I've seen it. I've like, most people come in as we get busy through life, kids, work, school, we get busy. And so like you might have ate frequently. And so they get busy and they don't eat. And initially when you don't eat, you're probably hungry, but you kind of push past it and you keep going. And then you might not eat till lunch. And then eventually it turns into you might not eat till early afternoon. And then you might not eat to dinner. And so like, that's I would say majority of my overweight people that have a significant amount of weight, they don't eat all day, but then when they eat. And so what happened over time? No food, no problem. Slow my metabolic rate down. I could live longer with less food. Our bodies will preserve our life. It'll adapt to what we do. So, it's like they get in this position. They weren't trying to diet. They weren't trying to do OMAD. They weren't doing any of the plans we're talking about. They just fell into that. And then when intermittent fasting came, it's like OMAD, 1 meal a day. They're like, amazing. I got a plan that's actually cool. Like I'm not going to eat. So, for the person that's already put themselves in that position and maybe metabolism slow, it was easy for them to adopt that, but then they still kind of adopted some crap and eat a bunch of whatever, not really with no micro and macronutrients profile. That's good. So I feel like that's why it got a lot of popularity. Just because it was easy to say I'm on a plan that already fit what I was already doing. And maybe they ate a little bit better.
Yeah.
They didn't have just shooting from the hip mindset.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest problem with the OMAD, which is the 1 meal a day, where it's like people are going to be like, oh, well, I fasted all day and then I had 200 grams of protein for dinner. It's like, congrats, you shit 150 grams out. Yeah. Your body can only absorb so much at one time. So it's like, even though you fasted all day and you didn't eat anything, you're actually nutrient deficient now because you try to shove it all in one meal. Your body's not going to absorb it all. And in my opinion, I don't know how people eat that much in one sitting, because it's like, okay, you just had the one meal. I would go to bed within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's like you just threw out the rest of your day too, because you tried to have.
Well, I think a lot of people that's why they see some success from it is like, or if you're someone who was eating, the minute you take the food away, you created a calorie deficit, a magical deficit, and you lost some weight. And then when you do over time, it's hard to eat a lot of food, you know, because your stomach starts to shrink over time. But you know, I just feel like people are not following like healthier food choices. I don't like the OMAD. I don't like the 1 meal a day. You know, once a year, I'll just kind of say like once a year, I actually do a 3-day fast. I kickstart the year off. I do it more for the gut benefits, the inflammation benefits, autophagy that happens. But my big one is just give the gut a break, kind of get out of the holiday season, get out of the holidays and crap, and just, it's a great reset for your body. And so it's a water fast. I have water, and then I actually cheat a little bit. I actually do collagen. I actually do beef and bovine collagen to if I get hungry in that second and third day, it just allows me, but I don't put anything solid in. It's more for me a gut reset and an inflammation reset.
Yeah. On those longer ones, black coffee kind of gets me through.
Black coffee. Yeah.
But I think another really important thing to know with this is like, if you're going for the benefits of like your gut health and the autophagy, which is killing dead cells, you know,
turning over.
There are studies that say it could help prevent cancer and all these different things. I don't know if that's the case. I think there should be more studies on it, but that is a possible benefit. However, the really important thing to note is you're not getting those autophagy benefits from a 16-8 fast. No. Like, what is the minimum? It's like 18 hours when it starts.
Actually, it's just the beginning, but really most of that's going to happen from day 2 to 3.
2 to 3. So it's like, that's the other misconception where people are like, well, I do intermittent fasting and I do 16-8 because of my gut benefits and the autophagy, and I don't want to get cancer and this and that, but it's not actually doing that. You have to get to day 2 to 3 in order for those to kick in. But there are a lot of good benefits to intermittent fasting.
Yeah, there's, you know, I think, and then to add to that, I think a lot of people for a while, like a lot of the people in the fitness world pushed out like, oh, your growth hormone levels are going to be drastically better. Like, I mean, I see blood work all the time. I see it's not significant, really. Probably a little bit better. Insulin response, not in the morning, probably a little bit better, but nowhere near. And you know, if you look at it, is it because maybe you're on a better plan or you're not eating crap? Like there's so many variables that could be into it, but it's not anything to write home about. Nothing significant on paper. I've tried it. I've looked at it.
Yeah.
So you know. End of the day, I think, you know, getting to the benefits of it, one of the benefits I love about just fasting, and I usually, if you're going to do it, the longest I would go would be a 16-hour fast, an 8-hour eating window. So you could actually get enough calories in so you're not deeply deficiting your metabolism and kind of metabolically damaging yourself. So, but one of the big benefits is inflammation, digestion, gut improvement, mental clarity through that fasting period. Very similar to keto and carnivore, you're not having those blood sugar adjustments that are happening through the day. I feel like, you know, that's about it to me. Like, really it is.
I would agree. And I think going back to what we were saying is if your goal is that like the autophagy and the gut health and all that, you can do the 72-hour fast.
Sensitivity too, that's another one. But you could do that with a low carb diet plan.
Right. You know, and it's like, if you're going for the autophagy, you're going for the gut health, you know, you got to hit to that second and third day, but you only have to do that once a year. Like, that's not something you need to do.
Yeah, don't be trying to do like a 3-day or a 5-day, like majority of your time, because you're probably going to screw things.
Yeah. And you will, if you eat correctly, you will lose weight on it. What would you say, what are some of the things people should focus on within that 8-hour window to get their food?
So I'm a big fan of still smaller frequent meals, because you can only use so much in a sitting, not to mention you don't want to feel like crap. So and periodically I'll intermittent fast. There's days that, like, if I'm not training, I miss my workout in the morning due to I had to be at work, I might fast till noon, but then I still get the same amount of calories I get in the day. It just might happen at 12, 2:30, 5, 7:30, and cut it back off. So it's a little bit more condensed, you know, as far as my day, but I'm still trying to get my calories if I'm trying to maintain or if I'm trying to lose weight,
Yep.
or if I'm trying to build muscle and bulk, which I don't do anymore. But so but you know, at the end of the day, it's you have enough meals to where you actually get enough calories in, so you're not shooting yourself in the foot and causing damage. I think that's just the biggest like flaw or con about intermittent fasting is it sets people up to not eat and end up in a metabolic like worse spot. So when they do start eating,
It's binge eating.
All of a sudden they're just off the deep end.
Yep.
So
another big thing too is we should talk about is the difference for intermittent fasting between men and women, because it is very different.
yes,
Because and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it that for women can really mess up your hormones?
yeah. So hormones more so stress response and increased cortisol. So if you're somebody who already has like a lot of stress and if you check your AM cortisol and it's high, probably not the plan for you. I actually just had this conversation like 2 days ago with a good friend that used to be an athlete, and she's kind of like sent me her blood work to look at it. Her cortisol is through the roof and she's been fasting. And I'm like, yeah, we'll adjust that. And so she actually texted me this morning. She's like, I already feel better.
Yep.
I'm like, so, but more so, I would say that, you know, it's good for short stints. I love fasting to break a plateau, whether it be ketosis, or doing a fast, or what I was going to say, you know, and this is like best application, even I do it at the clinics, is if I give someone if you're on a diet, a refeed meal or a carbohydrate day or a cheat meal, I like to follow that up with a fast, whether you do a 16, personally, I would say try to get a 24-hour fast. Let the gut have a break.
Yep.
You clear all that crap you had in there out. Inflammation gets down. That extra water weight you put on flushes back out. And so it's a good way to kind of hit the reset button after a bad meal. Or if you're somebody who's not trying to diet and you ate bad, if you learn to bookend your bad time with good or things to correct the bad. Now, don't use that as an excuse to just every other day we're going to fast because I'm going to eat crap every other day. I mean, probably could if calories are into, but we're not going to get into it. It's, you know, just learn to bookend the bad time. And so I like that post cheat meal or to break a plateau. So there's multiple applications of fasting.
And this is another diet that I would rope in with carnivore and keto that is not optimal for athletes.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you're, so for
high physical demand.
So actually there was the carb backloading. I forget the guy's name. It was a plan that basically you didn't eat carbohydrates. You fasted all day. Like you had nothing. And then you would actually either train and then eat like a lot of carbohydrates. So you carb backload. Once again, if you're overweight, don't do it.
Yeah.
but if you're, you know, for someone who's actually physically in good shape, and a lot of people got some results, they got leaner and still supported their performance. Or what he would have you do is eat a good quality like protein carb meal prior, and then a ton right afterwards, and then shut it off again. But if you're someone who trained first thing in the morning, you could actually every night, your last meal of the day, you're carbing up, not to like, I'm not saying like 1,000 carbohydrates, and you could perform by morning because they're available to use, and then you fast, you drop it right back off.
Wouldn't that be a negative overall though? Because even if you carb load the night before and then you train early in the morning, you're not re-giving your body the nutrients that it needs to recover from that training.
Well, yeah, so you're not following it up. So that's one deficiency that I don't like. But that was one method that kind of was big for a short period of time. But going back to regular fasting, if you're fasting all day and you're on a plan to calories and you train in the morning, the problem I don't like, it's like you could train fasted. You're not going to liquefy muscle in 3 minutes and like some of the stuff that's out there. Yeah. But it's you need to replenish the damage you cause. And so what happens with a lot of people is they'll be on fasting. They're in really good shape, and then they'll train in the morning and then fast thereafter until whatever time they're 12 o'clock or 3 o'clock, or if they're doing OMAD. And it's almost like they don't lose muscle, but they don't lose fat, and they get stuck in no man's land. Yeah. And then they start seeing like, man, it's not working anymore. I'm not seeing results because they're working against their metabolic rate.
And I think another huge misconception is the fact that you can, even if you train cardio or train weightlifting, if you do it fasted as opposed to non-fasted, you're not going to lose more fat one way or another. Like it doesn't matter. It's
been proven multiple times. Even Lane's definitely.
So Lane's big on that. So it's like the people that are like, well, I run in the morning fasted because I want to burn fat. It's like, that's yes, in theory, but that's not really how that works. Like if you're eating healthy, it doesn't matter if you're,
I mean, for the most part, I mean, I will argue macro micro timing, but in a net deficit, a caloric deficit, the right way, you'll lose fat.
Right.
If you're in too deep of a deficit, you're probably going to lose some muscle.
Yeah.
So it's really going to come back to calories. And then where I'm big into is the macronutrients in those calories will change how, at first your weight might stay the same or it might be dropping, but eventually your look's going to change and metabolically you're going to be different per the food choices you're picking.
Yeah. And then, so even though intermittent fasting, I guess, would be technically considered a diet, if you're going to intermittent fast, what diet should you pair with intermittent fasting?
So that's the cool thing about there's multiple ways to marry some plans together, right?
Yeah.
So you could stay on a ketogenic style diet. Once again, it's going to go back to your goals. If you're trying to run a 120-mile race, probably not the best plan to go ketogenic or carnivore. But you could take, depending on your goal, find the diet style that you like, and then you could condense it to I would say 16-8 is about it, and have 3 to 4 meals during that time so you can actually get the calories back in. But you could pair it with carnivore. You could pair it with keto. You could pair it with Mediterranean. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah. Did you think there's any specific benefit to pairing it with, say, a Mediterranean diet over a keto? Because you're still going to be getting a more wide array.
Yeah.
Of nutrients?
So Mediterranean diet's considered kind of the standard for overall best diet plan. A lot of times too, best cardiac diet, because you're not really excluding any one thing. It's just a healthier plan. So yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mediterranean, if you're just someone just looking to be overall healthy, maybe drop some weight, and you want to fast through the morning because you feel better and you function, you get more shit done. Yeah. No problem.
So to kind of wrap this all back together would be, what are some tweaks that we would make to to someone that wants to do intermittent fasting? And I think we should do men and women, because women, it would be not as aggressive, right? Yeah. So it would be a 5-2, 5 hours not eating, 2 hours eating. It's what are some of what would you do? I
mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well just get on a regular meal plan. Sorry, so if you're going to kind of sequence either way, I would say, making sure you're fixing deficiencies in vitamins, especially because you're most likely with that restricted time period, not have enough calories, not enough vitamins coming in. So get a good base multivitamin, still making sure you're getting your fiber in, making sure that if you're going to train, it fits your training schedule. So that's a big one. So if you're somebody who has to work out in the morning, you might do one of two things. You could still do a 16-8 and you eat from noon to 7:38. And then in the morning you might train. My modification would be is add a protein shake post-workout and then fast up into noon, just so you're actually putting something back in to kind of rebuild the damage you caused, so that it doesn't have to be carbohydrates. You could put a protein shake in right after, or you could drink carbohydrates during. It just depends on the person and where they're at, what their goal is. Or if you're like, hey, I'm not gonna train in the morning, you could train at noon and then break your fast and just don't change anything. Or if you're someone who has no choice but to train in the morning, you might just move your fasting. You might eat from the morning all the way till, say, 4 o'clock, cut it off, and then fast all the way till the next morning. So you might, instead of having your food late, you're going to have your food early, and then you're going to cut it off. I personally, somebody who's in good shape usually has enough discipline to cut that stuff out at night. Yep. But most people who don't, they're like, oh, okay, I'm going to fast, or I'm going to eat till 4 or 3 or whatever. And then night times when you're at home, you're bored, you're watching TV, and next thing you know, you're crushing the pantry. Yep. So I just feel like if your discipline level is crap, I'd flip it around and have the food later.
Yeah. I think just like any other diet, it really does come down to the bio-individuality of what's best for you and your lifestyle. You have to work around it.
I wish it was cookie cutter, man. Yeah. I wish it was simple, but if that was the case, nobody would be overweight.
That's very true.
So
if you have any comments, questions, concerns about intermittent fasting, if you're looking to do it, drop them down below. Click the subscribe button. We're going to be dropping episodes every other week on specific diets. We're going to keep going down the line. So I'm excited for the next one. We'll see you next time.